really cool stuff. So today what we got going on is we're going to be taking you through building an actual template, and Eric is going to be handling that for the most part, and I will be monitoring the chat. At the very end, I'll also be supplying you guys with a best practices PDF that you guys can refer to when you're building your own stuff. And I'll leave it up for questions at the very end. So you guys can go ahead and throw it in the chat throughout, and I'll be monitoring it.
Great. Thanks, Ceci.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eric. I'm the other visual designer here on the team. As Ceci said, I'll be taking you through building a Mother's Day email. So I don't know how many of you have already used the email builder, but feel free to ask questions as I'm building if something doesn't make sense, or if something comes to mind, and I'll try to walk us through that so we have a little more clarity of how this email builder works and how you can use it to its full potential. So let me share my screen here real quick. And just let me know if you guys can see this.
Hey, Eric.
Hello. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can see your
Awesome.
screen.
So this is the email we'll be building here. Pretty straightforward, but I'll be taking you through it and showing you some tips and tricks. So before we get started, we here at ServiceTitan actually have the luxury of a copywriter. I know most of us don't, but it is helpful before you actually start designing an email to just type it out in a Word doc. You can reference it. It'll help you stay organized. But most importantly, you can break down the sections of the email. Our emails and our templates sometimes are a little lengthier. Yours may not be, but we never want to send out an email just as a long document of text. Essentially, we want to engage the potential viewers. And I'll show you how to take each section of this email and make it a little more engaging. So we'll be referencing this doc as we're building. And this is what your email will look if you build an email from scratch. So you'll essentially have a empty canvas. And the very first thing I like to do is come here to the settings. And you'll have a setting here to adjust the width of your email. Now, you can go down from 480 all the way to 900, but best practice is typically anywhere from 600 to 650, 700 sometimes. And that's been proven to work best across all email clients and between desktop and mobile. Unlike the internet and how you view a website across, like for example, Google or Safari or Yahoo, there is some standardization. So unlike email, we have all these email clients and there is no standardization. So depending on how you're viewing an email, for example, on Outlook, someone could be viewing the same email on Gmail and it'll look a little different. So keeping your width between 600 and 700 is probably the safest bet. So I usually like to go with 650. So we'll set it to that. Go back here. And then the background color, I usually like to just go with a slightly off gray. You can really set that to what you like. Really just a preference. And I think we're good here. So very first thing I like to do here is, actually, let me back up for a second. So what we're looking at here is a row, essentially. This highlighted blue box is a row. This blue box within that gray box is a content block or a column. We can have one column up to 6 columns. One column emails are going to be a lot easier to create. When you start moving into 2 column and beyond, things can get pretty tricky. Mobile view becomes a little weird. So if you're a beginner, I would suggest sticking to one column. And it's highlighted blue to let you know that something needs to go into this content block here. And it could be an image, a button, divider, social media tag, your logo, some text. I always like to start with the logo right up at the top, so people know who's sending it out. And we're going to drop an image block here, and then we'll add our logo. So I have my logo off to the side over here, and I'm just going to drag it onto this content block. And that's a little large, so off to the right, you have your content settings, and you can just drag this little bar over here. I think that's probably a better size there. And each content block will have a setting that's called padding. And what that is essentially is the spacing around this object, top, bottom, left, and right. And you can see, actually, if you click this over, you can adjust all settings at the same, all sides at the same time. And you always want to have a little breathing room between the edges of the row and whatever content block you have in here. And you'll notice why that's important as we start to build this.
Huh?
Did we have a question? No?
No, I think you're okay. I was going to add, Eric, did you want to talk a little bit about like logos and what they should be expecting when they're bringing in their logo to the builder?
Like quality of logo? I think that's
Yeah,
really
like
important.
quality or color or size.
Yeah, we have a best practice size for the product, which is, I believe, 180 pixels by 180 pixels. And that just ensures high resolution. If you're uploading a logo and it looks blurry, no matter what size you have it, then it's probably too small in size. Now, I know sometimes we may not have the resources to fix that, and I don't know what means our users are going about to create these logos, if they have designers, if they have someone they've outsourced to create that. But if you've had somebody create the logo in the past, I would reach out to them and ensure, or just ask that you need a higher resolution version of that logo. I will provide, once we get to the end here, I'll double check on the sizing of what that logo resolution needs to be, and we'll add it to that document. But yeah, if your logo's blurry, it's due to the size, size/resolution. If you're unsure of how to remedy that, you can always reach out to Sarah, and we can dive deeper into that, and maybe we can, do a webinar after on how to fix that essentially. But yeah, you always want to ensure that your logo's full resolution. Because if your logo looks low quality, it essentially it's a reflection of the quality of work you're providing. So that's always important. So we have our logo here back. As you can see, this gray row is gray across. We can change this content block background color as well. And we'll go into, we have these two settings up here. The row background color is the color that stretches across the screen. I like to keep that transparent because we've already set the background color in the settings, which is here. But the content block, I do want to change. Which is, where did that go? Here we go. Content area background color. I want to set this to white. And this white area you see here is actually the 650 wide that I had set. When you view an email in an email client, most of the time you won't even be able to see this background gray color, but you will be able to see this gray area. So we're going to move forward here. I'm going to reference this doc again. We have the very first section would be this header here, and then our call to action button. So you can see here, we're gonna create this first section here. So we're gonna add a new row, and the way you build these emails are in rows. So we have a row for the header up here, and then we'll want to create a row for the next section. So what we want to do here is we want to add this image here, which I have set to as a background image, which will allow us to insert type and a button right above it. And the way we do that is we come to the settings of this new row here, and we see the setting here titled row background image, and we want to turn that on. Now here where it says change image is where we'll add our image. And I actually already have it in here. So we'll select that, insert, and it's in there. You can't see it yet because we don't have any content above that image or within this row. And what we're going to add is a text block. We'll reference this doc, and we're just going to copy that, come back in here, paste. And I want to change the color. And how we do that is we highlight, actually, you don't even need to highlight this, just want to be within that text box. You'll come over here to the right in the text color settings. Let's change that to white. Next thing we'll want to do is center this text. And within this text editor here, you have the center text setting, alignment, center. And in order to change the size of the text, you actually do have to highlight it. And we'll go up here. I'm going to start with 22. And we can't see the image yet, but we'll get to that. The next thing I want to drop in here is a call to action button. We have our button content block here on the right. I'm just going to drag it over right underneath the text. And I know this text or this email is going to have variations of a pink. So I'm going to change that button color. And to access the settings to any content, you want to ensure that you're clicked into this content block, and it'll reveal the settings. And we'll see the background color to the button right here. I'm just going to slide this over to the red color and find a nice light pink color. And I think that's good. And we can change whatever it is you want it to say in here. Call, you can add your phone number. And when you're adding a phone number to this button, you want to ensure in the settings that it's set to make a call. And if this was going to lead to your website, you'd want to ensure that it's also set to open web page. So you always want to ensure that's set to the correct action. We've got that. Now we want to reveal the image in the back. And to do that, question? Okay. So to reveal the background image, we want to add some spacers. And the way we do that is we can drag a divider content block, and it actually has a line, but we're going to make that invisible. And to do that, you can just click this little box that has little tiny boxes within it, and that's essentially transparency box. And it'll set any content to transparency. And now we're going to just push all this content down to reveal this image by extending the height of this line, which we've already made transparent. And then sometimes I'll just copy that same content block, drag it towards the bottom. Now we've got the image in the background, the text in the center. The text is a little hard to read, so we're gonna add a background color to that. You can do that by highlighting the text. You'll come here to this little highlighter marker, and I'll just change it to maybe one of these pinks here. I believe I have it inverted on this one, so I'll change the color of the text to pink. I'll highlight this again and change this highlighter color to white. I think I'll bump up this text size as well. That looks pretty good. So I think we're good on that section. So the next section will be the first paragraph. If we refer to this document, I got that right here. That'll be our next section. So we'll want to go back to rows, and you'll have a selection of different types of rows here. And we have a single row here, we have a 2-row. So you move further down, you have multiple rows. Now, I'm going to continue to stick to a single row. And we'll have a text content block. And I'll want to change that row color to a soft pink. And these colors can be essentially anything you want, but we've pre-chosen these colors. And I think in the document PDF we'll be providing at the end, we'll also include some resources that can generate some pre-chosen colors based off a search term. So for example, you could search Mother's Day, and these online services will generate a color palette associated to that term. So I'll click within this content block. I'm sorry, the row. And we'll go here to the settings, content area background color. I'm just going to drag this little pointer to a soft pink color. And we'll go back to our doc. We'll copy this section here. We'll paste that. And just want to adjust that real quick. And text size. As far as text size, best practice is also between 15 to 17 point for body copy text. That ensures clarity when reading. If we make it too large and all our body copies at this size, it can get a little difficult to read. A nice comfortable size is between 15 and 17. I usually like to go with 16 point. And over here in the settings for line height, we could add a little more space between these lines, which will also add to the comfort of reading this text. I also like to add a little space on the right and the left. And we can do that in the padding settings here. And when you click more options, it'll reveal top, bottom, right, left. I just want to adjust this slightly. It gives a little more breathing room on the edges there. Okay. And I think I'm going to bold where the customer's name would go. And maybe a little space on the top and bottom as well. That looks good there. The next thing I want to add is these white spacing sections between the top section and the following section. And we'll do that by adding a row, an empty row here, empty row on the bottom. And we're going to go back to this divider content block. We're going to make this line transparent. And actually an easier thing to do, so you don't have to be so you don't have to repeat so many steps, is actually we can copy this, and this little white and transparent box here is the copy button. And then we'll add the white background color, which is in the content area background color. So drag this over to the far top corner, and that's the white. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then our next section here, we reference to the doc. We're going to add this section here, which gives the impression of a coupon with the dashed lines where we offer a service. A tip for this section here would be whenever you're offering a service you really want to make, or a discount on a service or a product, you really want to make that section stand out. You don't want it to get lost within a large area of just copy. You want that to stand out. So we're going to be creating this little coupon section here. So we're going to go back to rows. We're going to copy this here. We're going to add a text block. What I want to do here is actually, I'm going to copy this. Another good tip when you're starting a new section of copy is to bring attention to that new section of copy is to start with a header text. And this header text will be our offer. We'll make this a little larger. And then we can include the actual text that gives details on what that offer is. I'm going to copy this text. And we'll bump up the size here. And I don't think I want this center aligned, so we'll left align that. We'll add a little space on the right and left, top and bottom. Now I want to add this darker pink, and we'll add that dash line coupon effect. So I think there's a little too much space in between these two text blocks here, so we're going to reduce that. Maybe a little more up on top here. Top bottom there. We're going to add that hot pink color there. I think maybe that's good there. And we're going to change this to white right up here. I think that looks pretty good. Now we'll add that dash line. And the way we add that dash line is down here under the border section. We're going to turn that on. Actually, we don't need to turn that on, actually. So when you turn this section on, what it does is it lets you individually adjust the top, the bottom, the left, and the right. But we want to adjust that all at once. So we're going to turn that off. We're going to select dashed. I'm going to go with 3. Right now it's transparent. We want to change that to maybe this darker color here. Still a little small, so we're going to bump that up. I think that's good there. So we have that section there. Turn this color down a bit. Perfect. So now we're actually going to get into this 2-column part, and I'll show you how that works. So we'll come back up to rows. Now we're going to want a 2-row column or a 2-column row. So we're going to drag that in here. But I want these columns to be equal size. So if you come to customize columns, you can drag this to the center.
Oh, hey, I didn't know you were home. I just got here a while ago.
Yeah, so from within this customized column
Yeah,
section, you can actually continue to add columns. So
Sure.
if you wanted to, we could add 3 columns, and adjust the size from there. But we only need 2 for now, so we're going to delete this. Was there any questions on this section that anybody would like me to further discuss?
How long does it take you to make an email template?
Well, for me at this point, because it's what I do day in and day out, I probably would have been finished with this by now. But from at the very beginning, that wasn't the case. Obviously, just like anything else, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. So I wouldn't let this discourage you. If this seems a little overwhelming, it really does get easier. The way that this email builder is built within our product essentially is far easier than the way emails are traditionally built. Oh, I believe you're muted, Jessica. So yeah, the way traditionally emails are built is a lot more, there's a lot more involved. Custom coding, something that would not be easily attainable to most people. So our email builder really does make it easier and more accessible to everyone to start building emails and email campaigns. So again, don't let it discourage you. The more you do it, the easier it will become. Prior to me coming on to the ServiceTitan team, I had never used this program. Took a little while to get used to, but after a while, you know, we're just cranking out these templates. So we'll go back.
I did have a question. This is Amanda.
Hi, Amanda.
This may have been mentioned before, but is there anything in the pipeline of maybe getting it to where we could like preset the logo? So like our logo is just like always on any new template that we create. And same thing with like the bottom footer. Like I feel like I'm always having to edit, you know, the bottom footer. And same thing with like the social media tabs. Like I always keep all my social links in a separate document so I can quickly copy and paste them. But it would be nice to be able to like preset those. Like I used to use like MailChimp prior to this, and I could like set my branding, you know, in the settings. So like my colors were kind of preset, my logo is preset, and the social medias buttons were preset. So I don't know if that's something in the programming, you know, down the road that maybe they could do.
That's a great, actually, that's a great point. So let me start with the logo. So the logo right now is, we are able to, or you are able to save that logo. I don't know if you haven't already added your logo when setting up Marketing Pro. If you've added it in the beginning in the settings, I think Sarah can get into that a little, provide a little more clarity in that. But once you save your logo, when you open up one of our email templates, it'll have our logo, but it should automatically swap out our logo with yours. So that might be something you may want to look into. As far as saving the footer, I believe that is possible for us to implement on our end. And it's been mentioned in the past. So we will provide updates on that.
Okay. I just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything. So
yeah,
No,
yeah.
you're not. You're not.
Okay.
It's like a saved row is what we need. We need
Sure.
saved row. We need saved. Yeah, because I feel the same pain. I'm like, why am I
I'm
creating?
like, what did I use last time? So I try to copy and paste.
Yeah, and then or sometimes you build off the same template over and over because you have the
I'll just
footer and all
duplicate
that.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another way to do it. But totally hear you. Something that we have been talking about and hopefully will be in the works in the next go around.
Yep. Cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, we will definitely keep you guys in the loop as we hear more of that on our end. So we'll just get back to this here. So we're going to be creating a 2-column row. We're going to have some copy on the left and a photo on the right. And it doesn't matter what side you choose. We've just chosen that for this email. So we're going to add our content text block here. And then we're going to add an image block on the right. And I have my image over here on this saved file, and I'm just going to drag it over.
We had some people in the chat comment about imagery, and I don't think it's something that we've hit on yet, Eric, but there are some really great free resources for high quality images. You always want to make sure that you use the most crisp images that you can. We have the luxury of already selecting images for the emails that we're building out, but something that expresses whatever the copy is next to it is going to work perfectly. And I saw some people mention Canva, Adobe is great, Pexels, Clean PNG. I've never heard of that one, but I'm sure it's great. And in the PDF that we're going to be giving you guys, we also mentioned Unsplash. I've worked with Unsplash, like even for my own freelance business for years. And they're royalty-free images that you don't have to credit, and they're really high quality. So you just want to make sure that the images are nice and crisp in whatever you're building.
Yeah, that's a great point. I know a lot of our users may already have Canva accounts. If you're not using Canva Pro, another something that may sell you on upgrading to Canva Pro is that they do have images for you to select in there. So you could always choose an image from Canva, set it to the same size of your email, and export out that image, save it on your computer, and you can use it in your emails. That would be a great source. But there are a lot of free sources out there, just like Ceci mentioned, and I think we've included that in our PDF document that we'll provide everybody with. And this image here, actually, I believe came from one of those free resources. They usually provide really good high quality images. So we'll go back here to this content block. And we're going to set that to that light pink there. Now, I actually think I'm going to use this same pink here. So if you just go back up to this row, you can copy this color here by highlighting it on the right there, and I'll copy that. And I'll come up here to this content. And there we go. And I want to add actually these white spacers here, and I'm just going to copy them so we don't have to go through multiple steps. Just copy that again. And what I'm creating here is, again, sections to that email. And what that does is there have been studies that show when you're trying to engage someone in email or on a website, we literally have seconds to capture someone's attention. And I think we can all attest to that when we're scrolling through emails on our phone or on our computer, especially emails that we get for promotions that we've signed up for. You know, we tend to just really quickly swipe through emails until something really catches our attention, and building emails in sections like this really helps engage users. So that's why I like to add these little sections and break up the copy into its own individual sections. So we're going to copy this text here. And we want this section here to be bullet points. So I'm going to highlight that. And we're going to come over here to this section here with the little dots and the lines. Those are actually a bullet list. That'll create a bullet list there. And I'm going to add a little space between that. And we'll go to the line height over here to the right. And we'll increase that line height. And increase this header size here. And I'm going to add some boldness to that there. Okay, I got extra space in there somewhere. And I'm going to add some additional space on top of that there to help center that. And something actually I forgot to mention. So when you have a 2-column section here, you'll have settings for each column. So right now we're on the left column, has its own settings. The right column will have its own settings as well. And what I'm doing here is removing this extra little space of white on the top and on the right, or on the bottom and on the top. Oops, just did it to the wrong section. There we go. And this text here is a little too far to the edge there. I'm going to push that over. And we've come up pretty far here in building this email. And an important thing to do is always check what it'll look like on a mobile device. So in order to do that, we just come up here to the left and we'll click on mobile. You can take a look here. And this image is actually cut off, so we're going to fix that. And I just noticed we repeated that image, so we're going to fix that as well. There we go. So in order to fix this image, actually what's going on here, this background image, is we don't have it centered. So I'm just going to click on center there. Go back to mobile view. There we go. Okay. So we have that section here now. And we're going to close out our email by reiterating the call to action. So I know that this is going to be a simple 1-row section. So I'm just going to copy this one that we have up here. I'm going to drag it down, place underneath that. And it looks like it'll be the same color. We just need to add a button and then we'll adjust that text. Actually, we're just going to copy the button we have up here. And I want to center this text, so we'll go up to this setting here. I'm going to reduce some of the spacing so the button isn't so far down. Add. One thing I didn't mention as well is the row here will have its own settings for spacing as well. And because I have 2 content blocks here, it'll be easier for me to adjust the top and bottom on the row versus having to adjust it individually on these 2 sections here. Okay, and we'll copy our text. Just copy it from here. I'm going to bump that up a bit in size. Okay, and then just referencing this real quick. Maybe I want this to be slightly lighter color. And I'm going to change the actual font we're using to Georgia. We'll do that to all the headers.
So at this point, you have, the general structure of your email pretty much finalized. You can go back and tweak it. What Eric is doing right now is just going over and like crossing his T's and dotting his I's and just making sure that all the buttons work, that the spacing is great. There is so much that you can do in terms of like styling an email that we won't get into today because it takes forever. But you can really, like, even at this point, spend a lot of time perfecting your emails. So I think just a general point to keep in mind when you're closing out an email is to just make sure that the styling is persistent throughout. so that you don't have like a million different fonts or a million different colors or text sizes. So it's always great to condense and to simplify, and it'll really take your email from, something that you probably just saw online, or, sometimes you get emails that you're like, oh man, this doesn't really look great, to an email that looks very professional. So sometimes it can only take like a couple minutes to look over it, but if you take like a little bit longer, it can really look like something great.
On that point too, an email that's easier to read, that's clear and clean, will always perform better than something that someone didn't take the time to adjust the details, the sizing of the headers, the color of the copy on the background color. You want to ensure that this white here has a good contrast on the background pink. If we were to inverse these colors, pink text on white background, it may not work as well, but you always want to ensure that contrast is easy to read on these sections. And spacing in between sections is also important. It helps the reader clearly identify what that section is offering in terms of the copy. And then I think the final thing to do here is add your footer. We'll add that final row there. And I think I'll add some social media and maybe some text above that. I'll center that. Maybe some text below the button or the social media tags. I'll want this content block to be white, so I'll go up here, drag that to the far corner, and follow us. And these footers can include essentially anything that you'd like your business name, your address, and the phone number. Maybe change that to a lighter gray. Just copy that same color. We'll add some spacing. Just double check this on mobile view. What I'm searching here for, checking for, is that we have enough breathing room, spacing on all these copy sections. I'm not really loving how this text here is centered, so I'm going to left align it. And maybe reduce some of that spacing on the edges. Looks a little better. Okay. Another important feature too, when you come to the end of building this email, is to actually test it. Send it to yourself, to your own email address. And how we do that here is you come up to this action button and you can send a test. You can input your email, whatever that may be. And whatever your subject will be. And you can send your email. Once you receive that to your own personal email, I would also check it on a desktop, check it on mobile phone. And if you have the option to set dark mode on your mobile phone, I would also check it in dark mode. Sometimes when you're choosing colors, they look great on regular mode, but you can switch to night mode, and sometimes things don't look that great. So you always want to ensure that you're checking that. And that's essentially it. Pretty straightforward. We'll open it up to questions. I'll be glad to walk through some further things if anybody has questions. And we'll save this. But yeah, guys, I hope that was helpful and everybody learned some new things to implement in your own emails.
Yeah, I would just use your templates. Like, you know, thinking about that, like, Evan was like, I didn't know there was a background image option. Most definitely. I always wondered, I was like, oh, how do I get the text above? And, you know, I ask questions all the time about templates and like, I don't know how to put this there. But making the template was the hardest thing when I was in there. So, you know, the great thing about when I came to the team, they were like, oh, we create these templates. And I was like, oh, I think we can do a better job. And so what happened was we just kind of revamped everything and looked at the templates that were already in existing and started building based off of strategy. So now the designers are and the copywriter, we're all aligned with the trades and really just working on creating trade industry content. So you'll see new markets for pool, landscape, always our tried and true of plumbing, HVAC, electrical, garage door, but we have carpet cleaning. We have a lot of different templates to create. So if you ever need anything and you're like, man, you missed the boat on this template team, just reach out to me. I'm always where you can find me and we will get these templates out for you. We've got price increasing templates coming out. We just did some membership upsells. Use the templates. I promise you that your next door neighbor who's on Marketing Pro is not using the same templates as you. And if they are, then that would be weird because they would have your logo. So, you know, my suggestion would be to use the templates as much as you can and just make them your own brand. But do you guys have any questions for Ceci or Eric? Or anything going on with the templates?
I actually do have a quick question.
Sure.
Okay, so we try to use our own images for most of our emails and things like that. And I noticed that whenever I try to actually put our own images, it tells me that like it doesn't fit, like it has a 1 megabyte limit. So what would you suggest me to use to actually like resize these images?
So there's a couple options. Do you have access to Canva by chance?
I do, yeah.
You might be able to resize them there. That would be the easiest thing because you already have access to Canva. I would try uploading the same image that our email builder won't let you. Canva may have a larger limit. So if you are able to upload it there, I would create a document in Canva that's 650 pixels, and that's the width I suggested for the emails. And you can create just a 650 by 650 square canvas in Canva. You could drop in that image. Canva will automatically resize it for you. And you can export that out as a JPEG or a PNG. Those are the two file types that you can upload to our builder. And I would try that first. If not, if that fails, there are image resizers online that are free. You can just Google image resizer, find a free option, upload it there. It'll give you options to downsize that image. And that should be an easy fix, really. But I would try Canva first since you have that access already.
Okay, yeah, will do. Thank you.
I will also drop in the chat a free resource. I didn't include it in the PDF, but it's called Tiny PNG, and it will essentially let you drag in any PNG, actually even a JPEG, and it will reduce the size. So if you have the dimensions already set, then all you have to do is drag it on there and it will reduce the size by quite a lot. Actually, it's a great resource, and there's this little panda on there that like goes hooray when you when it converts. It's really cute.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, and for a lot of you, I know I've worked like with Jamie on your logo. Like, make sure that your logo is clear and crisp. Like, that's the last one thing that I'm going to reiterate, because that grainy logo can look really grainy, and it can it just needs to be really crystal clear. So just go back to your designer and say, hey, I would like, all sorts of different types of logos, EPS, PNG, vector, like anything that you can imagine. Change the color of your logo, black, white. Make sure you have a bunch of design files so that you can take that logo and use it through multiple different areas. So for truck wraps, you're going to need a really high res. Just really think about when you get and someone else does design for you, all the files that you can possibly get. Okay, well, are there any other questions that we have going on? I know that there is another webinar coming up in about 9 minutes, so I want to give you all some time to adjust for that. That's for the web scheduler. But thank you guys for jumping in, and Ceci and Eric for taking the time to do this and dropping that PDF in there for everyone. That's awesome. And the survey link is up above, but I will drop it one more time in the chat. If you guys could take that for us, that would be amazing. Ceci and Eric, do you guys have anything else to say?
No, I hope you guys continue to use the email builder. Like I said, it'll get easier as you use it. And don't feel discouraged about using the templates that we are providing. They're built in a way for you to easily change the section colors and change those colors to align with your logo, with your own personal branding. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just include your own branding as far as colors, and it'll look great.
All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful Friday, and we will see you soon. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye, everyone.